Hello, my name is Carlo, and welcome to Eclipsly's fourth episode on API security. And today we're going to dive deeper into the fourth vulnerability of API Top 10 Vulnerabilities for 2023 by OWASP. Now, let's take a scenario. Let's think about a mobile credit card reader where you can log in using a four-digit code that you request, and you can try an indefinite number of times. So if you run some math here, so you have four digits, that means anywhere between 1,000 and 9,999. That's about 9,000 codes to try. And let's say you can generate this code and somebody receives it, of course, not you, you're trying to attack the system. So somebody else receives this code and you try to put in a random code. And then you have about 1 in 9,000 chance to actually guess the code correctly. So how many times do you have to do this to get lucky? Well, it's hard to tell, but if you try about, let's say 10,000 times, there's a good chance that you'll guess correctly at least once. So if the API that generates the new code is not rate limited or doesn't have any kind of limits to it in terms of how many times you can actually generate a code, then in about an hour, if you try 3 codes per second, there's a very good chance that you actually guess a correct code and log in as that person. So if that person is not closely monitoring their emails or SMSs, for example, if you try at night, there's a good chance that nobody will notice and you're already in the system for a few hours before they notice that they got 10,000 SMS or email codes generated. This is actually part of OWASP API Top 10 Security Vulnerabilities, and it's number 4. It's called Unrestricted Resource Consumption. So when you're actually requesting that code 10,000 times, not only are you potentially getting access to the system, but you're also using 10,000 of the company's SMS credits. So you're actually making the company spend money. And this is part of the unrestricted resource consumption. So what we need to do to avoid this is impose limits on the execution time of each operation of each API call, impose memory consumption limits. We don't want our servers to run out of RAM. Same thing for the number of files open, the number of processings that are running, and the actual upload file size if the users can upload something. We can also set limits on operations. For example, if we're batching queries for a database, and we can also limit the number of records returned. So using things like pagination, limiting the number of records returned to a page of results instead of returning all the possible results for a database query. And the last thing is third-party spending. So for example, in the case of the SMS, we want to limit how much we can spend for third-party API calls. So for example, if we have an API call to our SMS provider, we want to have a limit there to make sure nobody spends all their SMS credits. So these are all the things that are covered by the fourth vulnerability of OWASP Top 10 Vulnerabilities for API, specifically for 2023. And in the next episode, we'll look at the next vulnerability, number 5. So stay tuned. Thank you.